Hi folks, and welcome to the Duck Chronicles episode 24. See some of the babies are having their morning bath, getting a drink. One's already on her way back. There they all go, back to the group. We do have a duck with a limp today, and I'm not going to get too close to him because I don't want to make the flock move any more than it chooses to on its own today. I talk a lot about the advantages of ducks over chickens. There is an inherent disadvantage that we can see here. It's not enough to really make the chicken in any way I feel superior as a homestead bird to the duck. And if you get one with a big enough of a problem, you could simply capture it and hold it by itself for a couple days while it recovers. This girl's limping, but I've had plenty of ducks get a limp, and the best thing I've found usually to do is let them get through it on their own. And I've never lost one that's gotten a limp. And it's usually they got their foot hurt some way, twisted or whatever. But the disadvantage is if a chicken gets hurt, when all the other chickens go off and do whatever they're going to do, then that chicken just kind of holes up and just kind of chills out, finds a place where it can stay comfortable, finds a place where it can get food and water, and just waits it out until it feels better and tries to stay away from the other chickens. The ducks are such a flocking bird that what happens is when your flock moves off, your little girl with the limp starts crying and feels compelled to follow. And so hopefully these guys won't be that mobile today. As I've said, they kind of move around between where their cage is, that tree, the porch, their pool, you know, and over here. And I was going to actually start stretching them a little more today and move their pool out. But once I noticed her limping, I decided that I wouldn't do that. Anyway, if the camera seems steadier, it's because I'm using that shoulder-mounted system that I mentioned yesterday. So today's episode 24. And the name of the episode is 8 Muscovies More. So far I haven't had an episode yet I couldn't figure out a rhyme for. I'm sure sooner or later I will. But it just worked out that way. So that's I recognize him. That's one of our older birds. But there's a new Muscovy. I really like her pattern. You see she's black and white. Really, really dark. She's a pretty bird. White one there. We got a couple white ones. There's our old Drake. I haven't really named these guys. I really should, at least the Drakes. We have two really white ones and one mostly white one. So we brought in more Muscovies. And these should really, in time, help our egg production. The guy that had caught them the night before, and there were some eggs actually in with them in the holding pen that he had them in to make us getting them easier. So there's old Drake, and there's the new Drake ahead of him. And that's the boss, and I think he's going to remain the boss. The new Drake doesn't seem like he's got any way to stand up to this guy. This guy here is tough as nails, man. When I first brought him here, and I caught him out of the cage that the people I bought him from had to put him in a carrier, I'm always amazed at how strong Muscovies are. I would say pound for pound, Muscovy strength, just when you're trying to restrain them, is double like a Cayuga or a Rowan of the same size with those little hens. The Drakes are always really impressive. This guy here is like Arnold Schwarzenegger of Muscovy ducks. So, anyway, things continue to start to bloom. There's that red delicious apple that a couple days ago had just a few leaves on it. It is February. I'm a little concerned that we're getting a little bit too early of a bloom, but boy, that tree is really starting to blow up. And autumn olive, starting to put some stuff on. This is a cherry, and it's not yet, and that's good. I don't want that to bloom early on me. That should fruit this year. This is a peach called a Red Globe. And Nick Ferguson is going to come out and do some video with me this weekend for our plant propagation course for bonus material and some calls. And I'm pretty sure he'll want sign off of that. That's a pretty early peach. And honestly, we got like 5 peaches off that thing in its first year. That was the best peach I've ever eaten in my life to this day. So as I do these episodes, I'll occasionally just stop and show you a tree or two. There's really hundreds of varieties here. And let's go see the adults and see where they're going to be going next in the system. They're going to stay on this paddock for at least another week, or close to it anyway. Certainly through the next weekend. But I'm going to move their support system out of this area. So you can see this is all the water from dumping this morning and allowing a little overflow. And now we've moved them out. And every cycle they go through, all that wonderfully pooped up water is going on the ground. Somebody asked about compost tea. I'm a big advocate of compost tea. But when you talk about inoculation, duck poop makes it easy. And what I try to do, guys, is yes, I actually have the stuff to set up my compost tea brewer. And I haven't gotten around to it yet because I'm busy as all get out. And I've got some really great stuff from Progressive Gardens that they sent me to brew awesome compost tea. And I've got a pretty cool, cheap way to brew tea. And it's going to happen, and it's start getting sprayed. And I'll show you that when we do it. But I have to move these pools and dump this water every day, no matter what. I have no choice. This is what I have to do. And given that's what I have to do anyway, it makes sense to incorporate it into systemic thinking. So why would I worry about whether or not I have time this week, which I don't, to brew compost tea to spray out here, when all I have to do is say, if this area needs some help, let's put the ducks to work. So on that note, they're going to be here one more day, and I'm going to pull their major work activity out of this area. Even though they're in this paddock, they're centered on this area because their feeder's here, their water's here, they can get sun to warm up, and they can get shade to cool off. What we're going to do is move them to an area they've never really worked hard before, over here by my well, at the edge of the bottom of the food forest. So they've worked plenty in that food forest over there, but they've never worked this area right here. So we're gonna move, and I've got water right there, so it's easy to just drag a hose down here. And we're gonna work them all along that fence, but we're gonna start them right here. This is a pretty desolate area. This is a lot like that area over there, except I haven't gotten any of the bird's foot trefoil really working for me here yet. So this area needs more help. I put a lot of effort over there because it's a bigger area and it was in worse shape. Now I can start working on this area because the plan is, and this is all work that's planned for this year, tie into that water pipe, run a feeder line out here, and I'm gonna run a hedgerow from that main entry fence right there, follow this fence straight down at the bottom of this yard. And there's another water line going in over there that's for that hedgerow I've already showed you in an earlier episode. And we're gonna mirror that hedgerow all the way down here. We might even do a double hedgerow. We might do like kind of a sparse row of like locust and mimosa support species. That'll give us a fuel yield, it'll give us bee trees, it'll give us some beauty, and then come back wide enough to get a tractor through whenever we have to mow, rarely, and put something more like an edible hedgerow, and that'll create a double blocking of the view of the road and a dual blocking of the sound from the road. So those water lines will get run here, and that's going to be really easy to do. And then what I've got to do now, this has all been done. You can see the cover crop really starting to come in. Let me shift my holding technique here. And there's a ton of stuff in here, and it's all been top dressed. And it stops right there at that furthest pipe you can probably see. And I have so much to do, guys. This is really, gives you just an understanding of how much work there is here to get done, to get this thing ready for full-on spraying. Those pipes are all irrigation. I have to run the same system for that swale and the top swale way up there yet. That has to be done. And all of this needs to be mulched. All of this needs to be seeded. I have 150 support trees. It's a mixture of autumn olive and locust that have to go into these berms. So, yeah, I got my work cut out for me. And we'll catch up with you tomorrow with another episode. Maybe tomorrow I'll bring you to this little spot here. This little spot here, not very big, is it? I'll take you through there tomorrow and tell you all the species that exist from where that bucket is to right there. And it's probably about 30 to 40% planted to what it's going to be. That's what you can look forward to tomorrow, along with the rest of the updates on the ducks. Take care, guys. It's been episode 24 of the Duck Chronicles.